Sadique White, with his family in Charlotte, announced that he is headed to Syracuse Basketball. And I would say that most of us, including myself, are very, very pleased with his decision. Sadique White is a 24/7 sports, 5-star composite player. He is a 6'8" forward, top 25 overall in the country, and the number one prospect overall in the state of North Carolina. So, poaching players from North Carolina, I see. Even though North Carolina was not in Sadique White's top 7. His top 7 were Syracuse, of course, Alabama, USC, LSU, Texas, Tennessee, and Georgetown. They still suck. So North Carolina was not involved, or at least they probably were involved a little, but they didn't make his top 7, which is kind of surprising. Now, rivals did predict beforehand that Sadique White was coming, but I do want to give a quick shout out and some credit to Sam Stavrakos over on Twitter. Many of you guys probably follow him. He does excellent work breaking down Syracuse analytically, keeping up with the latest trends. Great guy on Twitter, but he did DM me yesterday saying that it was basically a done deal and that Sadique White was coming. So quick shout out to Sam Stavrakos. Thank you so much. So anyways, now getting into the recruitment itself and what Sadique White said. I never love to take too much out of what players say in a press conference or an announcement because usually they're going to say what you want to hear, right? Like Sadique White was like, man, when I went to Syracuse, all the love and all the passion that I got from the fans, like, yeah, that's all cool and all. But at the same time, if Sadique White had committed elsewhere, he would have said the same thing in all likelihood. So I don't take too much away from everything, but there were some things that stuck out. This was probably the number one. White said that he was looking for a home where he could become a top-tier player and where his mom can trust him going. So his mom, by that statement, had a lot of say as to where her son was going to play. So obviously, she felt comfortable with Sadique White going to Syracuse. You need your parents' approval. There we go. So we got the parents' approval. That's good, right? Syracuse also really pursued Sadique White hard, and we knew this. He was a priority recruit for Syracuse basketball, but he did mention on the video or on the live stream that Coach Autry and Coach Strawn never missed a game. They were always there, and this was the one thing that I really loved. If there's anything you're going to take away from what he said, it's got to be this. Sadique White said that the Syracuse coaches would say the things that Sadique White might not have wanted to hear about his game. They were honest with him. They would tell him what he's good at, what he's not good at, what he needs to improve on. Because the reason why this sticks out to me is that these players are ultra talented. A player like Sadique White is top 25 in the country, composite 5-star recruit. For most of his life, I think it is a fair assumption that whenever he steps onto a basketball court, he is usually the best player on the floor. And if he's not the best player on the floor, it's because he's playing with other top recruits. So my point being is that a lot of times with a player that's that elite, think about how good you got to be top 25 in the country at something. In the United States, when there are nearly 400 million people. Think about how good you got to be. And he's top 25. A lot of times these players can get coddled a little bit. They kept getting told how great they are. And they are great. They are terrific basketball players. Some of them are going to go on to play in the NBA. Some of them might make a couple all-star teams. And very few, but it will happen, will maybe become basketball Hall of Famers. It can happen. These are the type of players that are that elite in high school. And all throughout their lives, they are told how great they are. But Sadique White says the Syracuse coaches would tell him the things that maybe he wasn't so good at. Hey, Sadique, you're not good at X, Y, and Z. You need to improve this. That's important because it signals to me that Sadique White is someone that recognizes what he needs to improve on. So he knows his weaknesses. He knows what he has to do. He's not just focused on what he's good at. He can handle criticism, which is important. You got to be able to handle the media and people not always being pleased with your play. And obviously that he wants to improve, that he knows he's not a perfect player. He was receptive to the feedback that he was given by the Syracuse coaches. There are a lot of top prospects who might just be like, yeah. But I've been told all my life I've been so good. So why should I listen to you? But Sadique White, he listens to the Syracuse coaches. And hey, he built the trust. And now obviously he commits to the Orange. Now, here is what Sam Kaiser over at 24/7 High School Hoops had to say about Sadique White just about 5 weeks ago.
I think what really stands out with Sadique is what he can do defensively. I think he's still progressing and developing a little bit on offense, but his defensive tools are all there. He's about 6'7", 6'8". He plays, probably in college, he's probably going to be more of a four-man. And that's why his offensive progression is just all the more important. His ability to be able to knock down three-pointers offensively. He's already a good inside finisher, but I think you're looking for a little bit more progression from his jump shot. On the defensive end, he's about as good as it gets in the 2025 class. As I said, he's about 6'7", 6'8". He's a switchable defender. He moves his feet really well on defense. He's a good shot blocker for his size. And more than anything, he plays with a really high motor. He's a really high motor guy, doesn't take possessions off, and competes on both ends of the floor. And I think that's really what stands out about Sadique White. It's just how hard he plays on every possession.
So that was Sam Kaiser over at 24/7 High School Hoops, giving his thoughts on Sadique White, what his strengths and weaknesses are. My takeaways are pretty simple. Sadique White plays with a high motor, as he said, and he's one of the best defenders in the class. So that obviously is going to translate pretty well to the next level as a power forward. He's 6'8" right now. Maybe he grows a little bit. He does need to work on his jump shot, apparently, and three-point shot. And the numbers back that up. I gave the numbers, I believe, on last Poll Friday. I said that Sadique White is not the greatest three-point shooter, so he can definitely improve upon that. But that Sam also did say this, that if there was any player in the class that Syracuse was targeting that could one day become a five-star recruit, it was Sadique White. And it's because of his raw upside. Lo and behold, it wasn't that long until 24/7 Sports, I'm getting them confused, 24/7 High School Hoops, 24/7 Sports, named Sadique White a composite five-star player. So he's already improving, and he's still got over a year until he sets foot on campus and starts playing official games to improve that jump shot. But he's already a high motor player that can play above the rim, and just needs to work on his jump shot a little bit. Here's one thing that was left out, though, and we didn't know it was confirmed at the time. I wonder how much Vegas influenced this decision. And I don't mean Vegas placing odds on his commitment or anything like that. I mean the Vegas tournament that Syracuse is going to in 2025. I wonder how much of a factor that is for these recruits now. Because if you recall, what the plan is that every team that's going gets $1 million in NIL money to be distributed to the players. And if you break it up evenly among 13 scholarships, you're looking at, five-figure salaries, essentially. High five figures. 80,000, I believe, is the exact number. 70, 80,000, whatever it is. It's an obscene amount of money to play in just one tournament. But Syracuse basketball is heading there in 2025. So I wonder how much that is going to play into the rest of the 2025 recruiting class that hopefully follows Sadique White's lead, as well as the transfer portal and how much that influences it. It certainly can't hurt now that there's more money involved. Hey, this is a fantastic start to Syracuse basketball's recruiting class in 2025. He was the best player that the Orange were targeting. He was the best. And they got him. They spent all that time, all those resources. They didn't miss a game. And they got him. How sweet it is.